Hey everybody, it's Elisa Stillwell Rogers and I'm back with Simply Southern Recipes by Rocket City Girls. We are nearing the end of 2020, thank God. So this video is called Buck 2020. I will be using venison caught and processed here in our local area. I'm going to be making a meatloaf with it. And as side items, because you know New Year's Day is coming up, we're going to have black-eyed peas, turnip greens, and cornbread to go with. So our first segment, I'm going to do what takes the longest to get done, and that's the black-eyed peas. I've already sorted and rinsed these. So now I am going to add them to my bean pot here. Now, you cover these with about an inch worth over where the beans stop. An inch or two is good of water. Let me get this going. Now you want to make sure when you sort your beans you get all the rocks and stuff out. I used to think that was silly and refused to do it because I thought, oh, you know, the people that sell these beans do all that. There's no reason for us to do. Well, there is a reason, because people miss stuff, because people are imperfect. And lo and behold, after not rinsing my beans properly and sorting through them, I cracked a tooth. Not fun. So, you see where my water is sitting here? Now, I have one smoky ham hock that I am adding to my beans. Just drop that in like that. Salt to taste. I salt in the beginning and in the end if I need to. I have got 2 beef bouillons here. Drop both of them in. Really simple, easy recipe, but delicious. Okay, there's my beef bouillons. Now my granny used to put boiled okra in her beans, in her black-eyed peas like this, to thicken them up. Me, not so much. I don't like boiled okra at all. So I'm just going to continue to cook mine down until they thicken up on their own without the help of the boiled okra. But what I do for some extra flavor is I pickled these Tabasco peppers over the summer, and I drop about 5 or 6 of them in there for a little extra cha-cha-cha. Now, I'm going to put these on the eye, on high, for the first 45 minutes until, they're hard boiling. If they need water during this process, add a little more. But then I turn it down to low and I slow cook them for at least 5 hours until they get good and soupy. I've got all day, so I'm just doing it in a regular pot instead of the Instant Pot, because with the Instant Pot and the pressurization that goes on in it, I was worried that it would bust my beans apart. So, let's get started. They've come to a boil, so 45 minutes from now, we'll turn it down to low and continue cooking. My beans have been cooking for almost 2 hours, so I'd give them another hour. They'll be good and done. So I've just got them down on low, and they're just like simmering, but they're breaking down really nice, and then I'll go back and taste test them and see if I need to add anything. In the meantime, turnip greens. So I've got this much cut up. I don't know if y'all saw me do the collard greens or not, but you usually just cut off that end right there. You don't need all that stem. So cut that off like so. And then I just kind of throw them on top of each other. That's a big one, so I'll put it on the bottom like that. Let's see. And then I roll it like sushi. You see that? And then I cut it all the way down. Little bitty strips. Now I'll add this to my pot. So, okay, let's tear that. Now, right here, I have some chicken broth. 32 ounces. I would have to say about a third of it left. This is from Thanksgiving, so I'm going to use it. It's in my refrigerator, just sitting there, and it's good till February, so let's go ahead and pour that in. Now, here's 2 cups of water. All right. Now this really depends on your pot, how big it is, and how many turnip greens you had. Now I had 2 bunches, so that's right at 2 pounds of turnip greens. But you know, when these things start cooking, they're going to cook down to like a third of what they really were. So here's 2 more cups of water. You want plenty of water in there because it's going to evaporate and cook out. So to add to that chicken flavor, I do have some chicken bouillon. So I will drop my chicken bouillon cubes in. And the great thing about using bouillon, you don't have to salt it as much. The salt's already in it. Now, I also use a half of a teaspoon of garlic powder. Shake it all over like that. Just going to give a little something something to it as it cooks down. Now this is some crushed red chili flakes that I put up this past year, drying some of my cayennes. So I actually use a half of a tablespoon of this. Kind of heaping. Sprinkle that all over. Now, saying that, I come back and I have 1/4 of a cup of vinegar. You got to have a little vinegar in your turnip greens. It's a necessity in the South. Now, last but not least, brown sugar. So turnips are bitter. So, to minimize that bitterness, we put a tablespoon of brown sugar in it also. So, I've got these ready. I'm going to put the lid on and I am going to simmer them on a medium-high heat until they really come to a good roaring boil. And then I'm going to turn them down and take the lid off and let some of this water evaporate. Within 2-3 hours, they're done. Let's get them started. Alright, I got about 3.5 pieces of bacon that I cut in half that I am frying up to add to my turnip greens along with the leftover grease. So we will get the bacon chopped up and the grease in there and cook it down for a couple of hours. Good stuff. Good stuff. Our turnip greens are cooking down. I cooked that bacon. I'm adding the chopped up bacon. And this is the rendered grease from frying the bacon that I am also adding. This will bring a depth of flavor to it that is unbelievable. And check out our beans. They are doing nicely. Falling apart almost good. So I'm going to stir these up. We're going to get started on our meatloaf. Alright, this segment is going to be about our venison meatloaf for our New Year's Day meal. I'm doing this because Lord knows we need some good luck. So, here's our venison, 2 pounds worth. Now, as far as our beans go, that was 1 pound of beans, and the turnips was 2 pounds. They're going to cook down to about 1 pound. So, alright, with venison, you gotta know how to cook it to get that gamey out of it. So I start off with a good steak marinade, 1/4 of a cup, all over it. Okay. Now, to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons minced garlic. Just scrape it off. This is some garlic that I put up. The cloves were like this big. This big. Trying to get used to my new tripod too. Lord knows I needed that one. Okay, so now salt and pepper to taste, as always. Rule of thumb, I slightly go over the top with the salt. Usually I add a teaspoon of pepper. That's about a teaspoon. Okay. Come back. Half of a small yellow onion and half of a small green bell pepper. I don't like to cook mine first because you lose all that flavor when you do it that way. The flavor of the green or the onion and the bell pepper is going to go into the meatloaf if you don't cook it first in another pan. If you put it in here like this, all that flavor releases into your meat. Better flavor all the way around. Now, 2 eggs. Alrighty, now half of a cup of Italian breadcrumbs. Now I use the Italian breadcrumbs because it does have the extra herbs and stuff in it. And I like that. So I use a whole half of a cup. And then I use a fourth of a cup of whole milk. Okay. Now, I mix this up really good with my hands, and when I get it mixed up, then when we get back, I'll show you what we do next. Once I got the meatloaf all mixed up, I've got my roasting pan out. Now we have filled the very bottom up with cold water and sprayed the top of it with non-stick cooking spray. So, let me grab me another glove. I don't want meat all over my hands. So, anyway, this is so easy. Now, I've got the oven preheating to 450. You start this thing off really hot. Now, we try to build a log with it. There we go. Big chunks like that, just push them in there. Because if they're on the outside, they're going to pop off as it cooks. There we go. Beautimous. Absolutely beautimous. And it took me a long time to get to where I like venison. But in saying that, it also took me time to learn how to cook it properly. There's a proper way to cook it. So, once you learn how to cook it, it's fantastic. And actually really good for you. Not fatty at all. So, there. I'm going to set this to the side and make my topping for it. Alright, time for the glaze. So, I'm not doing any measuring with this. It's really very simple. Ketchup. Squeeze as much as you think you'll need into a bowl. Alright. Looks good to me. Got some Italian dressing here. Just plain old Italian dressing. Traditional, they call it. Put you about a good tablespoon's worth in that. Liven it up a little. Worcestershire. I would say add about 15 shakes Worcestershire. Mix it up really, really well. If you need more, you can always make more. But I like to put it on so it kind of bakes in from the beginning. So, I just kind of dab it on all over the top. Because starting it off at 450, you're going to cook it like that for about I'd have to say 20-25 minutes. Get a good crust going. And then you're going to turn it down to 350 and continue cooking. And I guarantee that once you try this, you'll change your mind about venison. Let's get this in the oven. Time for us to make our corn sticks to go with our meal. I've got 2 cups of cornmeal mix. Not just plain cornmeal mix in here. Okay, 3 green onions sliced up. Diced up, I should say. Ooh-wee. Because onions go so good with turnip greens. Okay, I have got a 15-ounce can of whole kernel corn. I'm going to put half of this can, yeah, right there. Now, I also have a heaping tablespoon of bacon grease. So instead of using oil, that's what we're going to use. Alright, so then now I need, I forgot to get it out. You're going to have to get down, honey. One egg. Gotta have egg in your cornbread. I'd be normally doing like a buttermilk cornbread, but I don't have any buttermilk right now, so I'm just using whole milk. There we go. There's our egg, milk, this all stirred up. Now I have got my corn muffin tin here coated in lard, and then I went back to make doubly sure it doesn't stick with vegetable non-stick spray. Now let me get this all stirred up and then we'll be back in a sec. We got our corn sticks ready to go in the oven, 400 degrees. So let's get them in there. Alright guys, dinner is done. Buck 2020 venison meatloaf, easy recipe. It was done in 40 minutes. Turnip greens, homemade, didn't take but 2 hours. Black-eyed peas, cooked them, completely done and soupy, 3 hours most. Cut me a couple of sliced tomatoes, made me some green onion and bacon grease corn sticks. And if you live in the South, you know that when you do your turnip greens, you have to have your pepper sauce. And this is some pepper sauce I put up over the summer. And these are not Tabasco peppers. These are Hungarian wax peppers and hot as blue blazes. So, there we go. I'm glad to see 2020 go. Can't wait for it to go. Hoping 2021 will be a much better year for all of us. I'm sick of COVID. I'm sick of being shut up at the house. So, let's everybody Have positive thoughts and energy going towards the new year. Hope everybody is well. Please like and share us with your friends and family. Subscribe. And we hope to see you back soon for another Simply Southern recipe by Rocket City Girls.